Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
Yeah, so I just tried to show some videos there about robotic process automation, but Caleb mentioned that there was some background noise.
Hmm.
Sorry about that. But the videos are actually there in the channel. I posted them there, so if you want to have a look at them, yeah, that's also good after the meeting.
I've
That's
had a look
okay.
already.
Okay, you had a look already. So what are your impressions about the whole thing?
In term, is it in terms of the IBM process or the manual process?
The technology itself.
Okay.
What do you think about the technology?
I think we already have this kind of technology in process already.
Mhm.
So I don't. Well, maybe it's just enhancing it, but I don't think it's something new.
Okay.
Completely, it's something that has
So,
already been.
yeah, can you remember anything close to that that you probably already know about?
Sure, SAP does the same thing.
Yeah, SAP has you know, basically, when you watch the Dell video, the guy tried to make some how do I say explanation about what is different about the robotic process automation and the regular automation. So yeah, automation has been in place for a long time, but yet there's still some what he called the exceptions. So there are still a lot of exceptions, that happen. So speaking about SAP, the procure to pay process, which basically generating purchase orders, and then during the payment process, you match with the invoice, and you also match with the good receipt, that shows that that purchase actually has been delivered. You match those three documents, but guess what?
Uh-uh.
As much as a lot of this has been automated, even in SAP or all these other ERPs, there are still thousands of exceptions that happens where a lot of people will do laborious work, trying to manually match the invoices to purchase order. So this is the point of RPA then being that it will eliminate a lot of these exceptions that happens, because that exceptions that we're talking about even still is a lot of work for people who are they call them mostly these accountants, or maybe assistants, so they do this accounts payable thing in the back end. So what RPA is trying to do is to actually take it from the back end and bring it to the front end, so that way too before a lot of mess has already been created that human beings are now going to be involved in trying to figure these things out. This robot that is doesn't sleep apparently.
Definitely.
When an invoice is being sent electronically or otherwise, or maybe through OCR or any other means, it could already scrape data, unstructured data and structured data, whatever it is, from all these inputs that is going into the process. And at the front end there is able to flag if there is any error. And there is a dashboard where you could actually see that, oh, something is wrong with this particular invoice. So bottom line is that beyond just the issue of it reduces the number of manpower or the labor that goes into any of these processes that we're currently doing manually, the turnaround time is also huge, because we're talking about stuff that human beings would do for maybe say for about 5 days. This thing will get it done within maybe some few minutes or a day. So which is huge, right? That Dell video, they also spoke more to that they are actually achieving about 50% reduction in turnaround time. So which Then there's also the issue of quality and compliance. So as I was saying about the payables or the procure to pay process there, a lot of compliance issues are actually eliminated because, like I said, RPA intervenes in the front end. So a lot of the exception handling that we're doing, be it in any business process for that matter, it involves us actually trying to pick data from one document and then paste it in. And in the process of us doing that, guess what? We mess up a lot of stuff and
Mm-hmm.
a lot of rework. And well, eventually, some people have to handle all those exceptions that happens along the process path where it consumes a lot of human labor. So this is also one of the great benefit of having a robotic process automation, because now the issue of quality has been increased even almost up to 100% because it's at the front end. Being
Okay.
that even before this thing goes into the process taking up everybody's time, it's already has been flagged by that robot. And the other thing being that when it's working in the back end, you have you can go to you can leave work and go home, and before you come back, guess what? This bot has done a lot of stuff for you already.
Yeah, sure.
You just have to do one or few other things. So for me, I think the plus when I really look at the whole thing, because there has been a lot of ongoing discussion about robots replacing human or replacing, taking away our job, right? But I look at it from the productivity angle of things, because when all is said and done, we are doing a lot of stuff that are manual, repetitive, and just consuming a lot of time without really adding much value. That's what some people's work, at work that I've had about 13 years work experience already. At some point, I just feel like this is just a total waste of life. Sometimes when you think about the kind of, um,
Nothing
mundane tasks,
innovative.
that people are doing. Whereas when you really look at, although it also depends on the level of education, and the aspiration of the labor we're talking about. There are a lot of people who are educated, and their education is not just to come and engage in this kind of repetitive work. They are more motivated when they are challenged to solve higher level problems, and also to contribute and add value, at a very strategic level in the organization. So I think for me that is the thing for me about RP that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, the one thing I do tell people is the one reason I made a decision to actually pursue the supply chain career instead of mechanical engineering, because I saw this coming. I already saw this coming. I know that a lot of things are so manual, repetitive, and wasting a lot of life. And I thought that, okay, well, guess what? As an engineer, I see automation coming into this thing eventually. And this is why I actually decided that I was going to stay in supply chain. So for me, I'm not surprised seeing all these things happening, but coming back to the supply chain aspects of things now, some of the things I posted there, in the Innovation Month discussion,
Yeah.
I look through some of these articles, because one of the things that we as a focus group are looking at concerning this discussion. Do we still have uh hello?
Yeah,
Hello.
yeah, I'm
Yeah,
here.
do
Hear
you
you.
have Caleb here?
Yeah, I'm here.
Yes.
Listening to you.
Okay, yeah. So I think it's three of us that are in today. I haven't seen the other guys, but I've actually sent a link. So Caleb, you asked the question about what link to use to join. So it's the same link actually that I
Yeah,
have
yeah.
sent previously. Maybe I should have provided that information in
Oh,
advance.
no, no, that's okay. I've signed in already. Before you sent it, I just went back to the link and signed in.
Okay, great.
Mm.
So what do you think about these discussions? I know you're kind of maybe new to procurement, but what do you think about these discussions we're having, and also concerning what you are learning in school currently, and how these are really are aligned?
Well, coincidentally, I've had time to like go through, I think, practically all the videos, and they are real to me. And my question now is, what is the next step for everyone that's in supply chain or procurement? Because I can see I heard yesterday talking about SAP. I was going to ask, what's the difference between SAP and RP? because if we are talking about SAP, I have a bit of background in SAP or understanding of how SAP works. But if you're not introducing RPA, how do we get ourselves involved or learning the tools of how to use the RPA? Is it particular software? Is it a particular training that needs to be done and stuff like that, and so on? It's been a bit eye-opening for me from the videos that I've seen. I'm not surprised, because what I've tried to do a couple of times is to follow through on Amazon and what they are doing. So I'm not totally surprised. It's just that it's a new learning experience for me to be able to see what's happening in reality, what happens behind the scene, and stuff like that. So that's my take.
For me, I'm more into project management. So the supply chain it's like, I would probably say it was when I got to Canada, I heard so much about it. And
same, yeah.
So it's almost like, okay, I'm in project management, but how do I combine this with what I really want to do? I mean, I'm also going into data scientist. So it's more, for me, it's more like, what's the future? You know, because if everyone is running into supply chain now, what next?
If I may add, I don't know if Bjorn is there. If I may add, I would say the future keeps evolving and new technologies are being deployed. That is really making a lot of difference in the whole industry, generally in the economy. I was into project management, and what I was hearing in Nigeria was PMP.
Yeah.
Coming here, before coming here, now I heard, okay, Scrum.
Thank you.
I done the Scrum, and okay, what's the next thing? And what keeps ringing in my head is technology. So the essence of me even being in this group is like, okay, there are technological changes that are going on.
How can we tap into it?
Yes, I need to be, I don't know what I would say, ahead of the game or be abreast with what is happening, because these new technologies affect practically every sphere of life. So it's hard to tap into this technology, or what is the trend in the technological change, if there is any way I can learn those tools and how to apply those tools and use them, because it's going to be very relevant in every spheres, whatever the case may be. When I was to start school, when I was talking about Scrum to someone, the person now like, oh, there's a new one. Telling you. He said there's a new one, because I got into a real conversation with a guy. He said there's a new one. He said it's human technology something. I wrote it down somewhere anyway. When I tried to Google it up, it's pretty new, but I think it's something that's really going to change things. So
so what do you say about being a data scientist then? Because
data science is a bit more specific in what you want to do. You want to be analyzing data. That's the way I see it. So if that is something that strikes you and really is part of your passion, is something that you're looking out to, then there's nothing wrong with that. It's just mining. Data scientists, I think they're just looking at data and looking for a way to use those data to the applications that they want to do, which is absolutely okay. So it's going to be a really shift from your normal project management or supply chain angle to another area. I might be wrong, but
I think they all come together somehow. So I don't know,
Yeah,
maybe
so
Bjorn
yeah,
can
I
put more
can
light.
speak a little bit to that. So today our focus is just on the robotics aspects of things, the RPA itself.
Okay.
So because what we're going to be doing going forward is to actually look at each of these technology,
Okay.
uh, about them. Just like we're speaking about the RPA today, we're still going to talk about big data. So, we're going to talk about analytics. So, in those particular technology, we're going to speak just the same way we're speaking about the robotic process automation today. We're gonna explore that definitely maybe next week or maybe the upper week. We're gonna explore that. And if you are people who probably have interest in this type of a thing, maybe in your school, Caleb, you can invite them into this group. Um, Maybe it will be of value to them too. So we're going to talk about all those technologies. We're going to talk about the blockchain. We're going to talk about the procurement. I mean, analytics generally, big data analytics. We're going to talk about Internet of Things. So um, also, beyond us talking about it, we're going to bring in some experts. I've gotten an expert on the blockchain one, but I'm still negotiating how to get somebody for the data analytics, the one that yesterday just mentioned that she's interested in. Hopefully, we can get somebody for analytics as well. So these are going to be the our activities for the Innovation Month. And the videos of these recordings are also going to be shared here because I want to make this a resource, a go-to resource for professionals, specifically the foreign trained professionals who are looking for information, who are quite lost at okay, what is going on here, and maybe they are looking for some more information. This is why I'm creating this repository here. And once we also have these experts, maybe through a webinar program or so stuff like that, we can also I will post them here as well. So yeah, we're gonna talk about that in future. Talking about the activities of this focus group, because I know when we started, Caleb had asked. So what is the reference? Is that what you called it?
Terms of reference.
Yeah, the terms of reference. So basically, the way it works is this. This group is just interested in leading this change that is happening. Just like you said there, that okay, what are you supposed to do now? Like every day, every other day, another technology threw in the face. Okay, so which one should you actually be focused on? The other day you heard about Scrum and stuff like that. So what we are trying to do as a focus group is to actually lead the way for the others who might want to show some interest in these technologies. So that would involve us actually discussing probably the emerging roles in supply chain management and project management. Uh, we're gonna have a seventh edition of the PM book. I don't know what they're coming up with. There might be some things like this that they're gonna talking about. Definitely, this Scrum thing is gonna be there because they actually had one on agile methodology published when they did the sixth edition. So what I'm seeing going forward is that they're gonna merge all this agile component. It's already in the sixth editions anyway. It's just put it in there as some considerations for anyone working in the agile environment. So maybe going forward, they probably might include some of these new methodologies that are showing up, but generally speaking, as far as if this focus group is concerned, we are trying to lead the way for others. Like I said, the Supply Jobs Canada group is a mentoring platform. So the very main goal of what we're trying to do here is that if anybody have questions regarding these technologies, okay, what role should I be playing? What kind of skill sets am I supposed to be acquiring in order to actually explore this profession or this acquire this skill set? What am I supposed to do? So these are really the things that we're trying to do here. Um, So in regards to that, I would just like to ask you guys, because this is the way this should work, that I know that these are the kind of things that you're interested in, or if there's any other thing that is of interest, also you could let me know.
Well, to me, when I ask what the terms of reference is, that this is practically what it is, what you just described, and we have different topics that is expected that we have conversation about, and it might not be related to what I want to do, but it's just to expand my knowledge and give me better idea of what is happening out there, and discussing with other people that have similar interests. So now that we're talking about RPA today, yeah, I'd like to understand what it really entails. What are the tools that needs to be done, needs to be learned to be able to use it? Who uses RPA? And this conversation, so it's fine for me.
So yeah, that's some of the things that I plan to touch on today. So I think from speaking with yesterday earlier about, you know, the benefit of this RPA when you looked at that video and all of that. Bottom line is that RPA is being introduced to basically cut back on the labor intensive processes that we have in be it in supply chain processes, be it in project management. So I'm definitely sure that this is going to be impacting every other profession there. So it's not only about supply chain we're talking about here. Okay. So
Okay.
because the trend really has been that human beings, we were moving atoms, you know, like from the traditional innovation that we were involved with is about atoms, you know, it's about building cars and all those things. But now the trend of innovation now is about the bits, about data. So that's why everybody is kind of looking at data seriously right now. Like everybody want to acquire some knowledge or some skills in data analytics or whatever it is. But for the RPA that we're talking about today, definitely in the back end, it's about how these robots are able to manipulate data anyways. You know, we as human beings also deal with data, but before now, we didn't have that technology that enables us to be able to use unstructured data. So unstructured data being data that is not really structured as what you have in Excel and all of that. Maybe it's just stuff on the social media that people are just chatting and yapping and all that about. You know, now we have technology that have the capability to pick things of interest from this, and this is what big data is actually about. You know, just that we've been talking, see, we've been creating a lot of data, unstructured data, since we've started this session, and then now we have this RPA to be able to make a sense of all this data. So what happens in the back end? I actually have a video there that I believe I posted a video about what actually happens in the back end of the RPA. But if not, I will post it. Basically, you have a human being, you know, a technologist or a developer who actually created, maybe with a business analyst who actually created a kind of a chart, a workflow, you know, a workflow that this robot is going to follow in actually doing that task. So in a way, you have human beings still involved in any case. So what then happens is that once this workflow is fed, and then it is sort of orchestrated by that robot based on all the instruction, the rules that it has been provided with. You know, and then it executes that, and then it executes it to perfection, because of course there is no human intervention anymore once this um, software or this instruction or this algorithm has been handed over to the robot. It just carries it on based on whatever instruction has been given to the robot. So this is really what it's all about. Just like Yeste was saying earlier, that this is really nothing new. Yeah, I agree, it's not new. It's just that now we have some more capability, you know, in terms of technology, and this is why Instead of developing the automation that you probably have before now, let's say in terms of the ERPs that we had before now, is that it could take months, it could take, for human being to be able to develop this software that is then deployed in the organization. But with the robotic process automation, it takes days. So something that could take like 6 months for us to have done to automate, now with robotic process automation, it will take just some few days and it's done. So basically what happens here is when we're trying to create this process, there's actually what they call scraping. There are some terms they use called scraping. Basically, so as you're moving through all these processes manually, the robot actually can be learning from what you are doing, you know, backend, and it will see all the things that you're doing and will be able to know, okay, if it's this URL that is important to take this action and all. Even the logging in into all the interconnected systems, it would learn all of that, and then it's put into a kind of a workflow that is now implemented in the infrastructure that is used in developing the RP software. So you talked about the technologies. There's one particular platform that is free. I don't know if you're somebody who is has technology inclination. It's called UiPath, which is actually that platform that is free for people who would like to learn, what RPA is all about. UiPath. I'll type it in here.
UiPath is in one of the videos. I think in one of the videos that was you posted.
Yeah, so that's it, UiPath. So there are about, I think, 3 different platforms. Some will offer you, maybe 60 days trial or 30 days, but this one actually has a free version, that could be used. So if it's something you want to look into, look into it. But basically, this is software engineering we're talking about here, right? So that's what you will get from that.
Okay, now if we don't have that intention of going into software engineering, because I watched it and I don't think I have that energy to do that, how does that apply to us as supply chain managers or procurement or project managers? How is it relevant to us learning those tools?
So, that is one main challenge for us in supply chain management. So I made mention of this issue that we have in supply chain where people are just kind of laid back. I remember when ERP came into the scene. When ERP came into the scene, what pretty much happened in supply chain is that we didn't really give that much care. We just outsourced all of that process. And well, guess what? What I would say in terms of supply chain management is that the boat already left, because the thing is now that the technology that is now coming out is now being built on the ERP. You see all these vendors now, SAP, Oracle, and all of those guys. What they are now doing is that they are now making the ERP to be intelligent in such a way that they incorporate all these additional technologies into their ERP. So in a way, what will happen in terms of supply chain folks who are trying to get on board here, if you're not going to go completely into the technology aspects of things, you might want to look at how to use a particular platform, to learn a particular platform that already implemented these technologies. So an example here is the what SAP now call the intelligent ERP. And then there's also one that I posted previously. That's the is it the IBM? Yeah, IBM Sterling Suite. So I think I posted it somewhere up there. You see it there.
Yeah, I saw the video on the IBM Sterling Suite.
Yeah, so Sterling Suite. So basically, for us who are not going into the technology world, software engineering aspects of things, I think we just be sufficient that we are able to learn one of these suite. So I don't. What we have right now, actually, in supply chain is a lot of organizations have implemented ERPs, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what you're going to be seeing is that there are going to be now additional layers of or additional or integration of these new technologies into those ERPs. Do I make sense?
Yeah.
So the question then will be, okay, what ERP are you using currently, or that you know how to use currently?
That's the companies now that are going to be, we're likely going to be having transactions to deal with.
Yeah. So for example, when I work with Shell Petroleum, we were using SAP ERP, which of course now going forward is going to be called the S4HANA, based on some new technology that also crept in into the ERP world. So now SAP is now integrating all of this into a unified system. So now you have ERP. Now you're going to have all these other the robotics. So I'm not sure if I posted one particular video, but I'll post it. So in this particular case, actually SAP is being used to do things or to automate procure to pay process. But now you have two bots that are involved in there. There's one that is called a chatbot. So that chatbot is like you just go into your system and type in, oh, I want to buy this thing, or my laptop is faulty, or my laptop is not working. So that chatbot basically goes into action, letting you know if you intend to repair it. These are repair suppliers. If you intend to purchase it, these are vendors that you can buy these things from, and it will actually prompt you to respond, and before you know it's placed your order. Okay. So that's the kind of that's the kind of thing you have.
Okay, now a thought now to, let's say, case in point. Yesterday talked about data analyst, and I saw something on that IBM Sterling Sterling suites and doing supply chain analytics. What I basically see from that IBM is that IBM is like a platform, just like you have Microsoft. So different companies build their products around that IBM platform.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how do we as supply chain get to learn or get to understand how this process works, since we are not working with IBM or not working with those companies that are already developing their system around it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So for me, I think like I know IBM had one ERP. They call it Maximo. But for now, I'm actually hearing about IBM Sterling for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
The one that I know that I've always even used, that I've learned about, is SAP. So SAP S4HANA basically. So it's also a platform. In this platform, you have it's an open platform, so to speak. So that's the kind of thing you have. This is also open. The IBM Sterling is open. So what you mentioned there, that there are some other developers or companies who will build technologies around this IBM Sterling, for example. So that's what we actually call a unified platform. So in which case that all these technologies we're talking about, be blockchain, whatever it is, they are actually integrated into these suites. So all the major vendors are building this unified system, and they are making it open such that even in-house, if there's any little thing that you have some developing house that could actually leverage on their technology, they could build one little thing, just to kind of aid what you guys are working in your in-house in your company. But to answer your question regarding what the supply chain professionals need to do, really, it's one of the key things that I'm thinking, or that I had a thought that we're gonna talk about in this focus group. Because really, what we need to do, we need to we don't need to look at it from technology perspective. Or do I say we need to look at it from a robust perspective, not just technology. Because the challenges that we really have currently right now, I was able to put it into some little sheet of document here, which says that procurement and supply chain management functions is perhaps among the least adaptive to technological changes. Okay, that's from Jeb. And then also some of the challenges, they need to have people who can understand and engage with digital capabilities and who can implement and utilize IT tools systems. So you can look at it both from the IT and also the procurement or supply chain side, because in one way or the other, we need to be involved in this, even though we are not, IT developers or software developers. In a way, we need to be able to understand how to implement the technologies. So, coming from the project management perspectives, right?
Yeah.
That would be one particular knowledge that we need to have. As it is today, uh, being that supply chain and procurement is undergoing all these changes, all these disruptive technologies, so one skill that anyone who is into supply chain should have that is key is project management. And then with this new edition that is coming, that PMI is working on, I believe they're going to respond to a lot of these disruptions that is happening, so that professionals who are working in the industry can be, they can get more of these capabilities that will help them to be able to implement and lead this procurement, lead transformation in the procurement and supply chain, because of these disruptive tools that are, that is being thrown at us every time. So the last one here, it says some of the challenges we have is establishing the cultural and behavioral preconditions that will create an environment that supports the use of technology. Because apparently there are a lot of people who are resistant to change, and when these things start coming, what you would see is people would just, like some of the reports that I've seen out there are saying that the majority of the CPOs thought that there was no way that any technology is going to disrupt what they are doing, but now it's reality. So basically, that culture of not responding or not adapting to change is what they have said here in the report, except that I have here that, well, it appears that procurement and supply chain management functions are among the least adaptive, and that's what I've experienced. I don't think it's theory, because for me, my own entire career, 13 years career, I've seen a situation that this thing actually described. We have a situation where people are not adapting to technology. It appears that people have just settled into their manual activity, and maybe that's the way they thought that they would secure their job. But well, the reality here is that the robots are here. We're no longer competing with human beings, so to speak. I mean, sorry to sound like it's an Armageddon, but the thing is that we need to equip ourselves. I think that's the way I would answer your questions. I wouldn't say that we just have to go and learn about technologies, blah blah, and all that. We already have something that all these vendors are building upon, where they're now integrating all these technologies. Is the ERP. If you haven't learned about any ERP, then what I think is the time to actually learn about using an ERP. If you have an ERP that I mean, if you are somebody who is in supply chain, you should have
Mm-hmm.
an ERP that you have a great knowledge of, that you have acquired some skill sets in that, because now you can build on that by then upgrading to include capabilities in all these other technologies that are now cropping up, like blockchain and all of that. Hello.
Hello.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So those are in terms of the supply chain. That's what I would say in terms of what one needs to. Bottom line for us as a focus group, we are trying to see how we can identify the emerging roles in supply chain and procurement. What are the roles that are going to be emerging? Of course, all these technologies are going to play a big role in the development or the emergence of these roles. There are some of them that I talked about the last time, being we talk about the data analytics, that
Yeah.
going forward, we would have a profession where you would have people who their functions are tied to information technology, like maybe something like Now we're having something like procurement business analyst, or supply chain business analyst. So we're going to be having those kind of professions emerging in supply chain now. We're going to be having people who might be called innovation leads. Basically these people, their role will be strictly innovation in the
Okay.
organization. Hello?
Hello.
Yeah, I can hear you. You had a question or you had wanted to say something?
No, I'm just saying. Okay, like the role.
Yeah, the role. So innovation is a very big one. So because innovation is concerned with transformation as well, digital transformation. So anything in that line, regardless of if you're a supply chain or a project manager, you should be looking into that area because this is what we're now seeing going forward. So anything in line of maybe innovation manager, innovation uh, maybe lead, or there are also some that has to do with maybe systems architects, like okay, maybe procurement or supply chain system architects. These are some
Okay.
of the emerging roles that. But as I speak today, even with all the supply chain associations and organized bodies in the profession, I have not really seen anything definitive about what is going to happen for the future of supply chain management. So, and this is the reason why I'm keen as to we that we call ourselves professionals really don't have to wait for this. We can actually take the lead in deciding that these are the things that we think are going to happen in the future, and these are how we want to respond to them. So basically, for this focus group, these are some of the things that I feel that we can do. Basically, identifying the challenges that the profession faces in terms of these disruptive technologies, identifying resources for training and general improvement of supply chain professional capability in these disruptive technologies, establishing the key roles and responsibility of the supply chain professionals in innovative and transformation of the supply chain management function, gaining knowledge and awareness of the disruptive technologies and systems, researching about the applications and the implementation and adaptation of this disruptive technology in supply chain management. And then also benchmarking leading firms in these digital technologies, that there are some firms apparently that are well ahead, in terms of this implementation of these technologies. I'm still waiting on the top 25 firms. I know some of them will be identified where they have been identified as leaders in implementing these disruptive technologies. So we're going to look at what their practices are. We're going to basically benchmark their practices, the knowledge management, the disruptive technologies adaptations and strategies that they are implementing in their organizations, and then also help the profession to harness the technologies in order to meet the strategic, operational, and financial objectives of their organization. So these are the things that I am all proposing in terms of the terms of reference for this focus group. I don't know if Caleb is still there, but I hope that answers some of his questions. I'm recording this time, so apparently I'll be able to share some of this with going forward with the larger group. And yeah, hopefully I can also type this so that everybody sees what we're talking about here. So, but enough said. This is what it's all about. Caleb, are you still there?
Yeah, I'm here. I just had some background noise. I had to mute my end so that it
Okay.
shouldn't disrupt it. Now, in a nutshell, from what you just said, my take on this, which is one of the essence of what I saw the importance of this group is expanding my knowledge base. And from our conversation so far, I try to Google up the IBM Sterling and stuff like that. And one of the things you said earlier on was the ERPs and how supply chain professionals are not key into the ERP platform, and now we have AIs that are more or less disrupting it. So what think we should do, in my own, from all what we are saying now, is I like the idea of what you said, looking at companies, top 25 companies in the supply chain industry, and see what their business practices are and see where they are going to, so that we can be better equipped for what the future, where the future trend is going to. We might not be able to get the tools, because I can see that there's no particular tool there's no particular customized tool that fits all. It's just that if we are a bit knowledgeable on what's happening, we can see the trend and be able to really tap in whenever those opportunities may come in terms of certification or training and so on, and stuff like that. Like you see, they were saying something just now. I went through the IBM suite and they say something about analytics, supply chain analytics, and I think you should look at it. And maybe before we come for another meeting, if there's anything we can look up and dive through it and have concrete conversation.
Also take on the analytics next time?
No. I'm just saying that I made reference to the analytics because of yesterday said something about data analysis. Okay. So I'm just referring her to the IBM suits that talked about some analytical tools and what the future holds. Okay. But what I notice is they are IBM is like a suit, like a Microsoft suit. So it's not based on what the individual companies want to do with it. Yeah. And what I was saying that we should do is, like you said earlier on, looking at the top 25 companies, if we can have those companies or the case studies of what they do, and individually in our own spare time, go through it. And when we come for a kind of a conversation like this, we could say what we learned from that article or whatever it is, so that we can share different thoughts and see how we can learn from one another on those things that we read or we study and stuff like that.
Great. And I will continue putting these resources in here too, once I identify any, as I go through my research, because one of the things that I want us to also come up with is to come up with a report, basically like a white paper on these disruptive technologies, and to publish it. Of course, my goal is that everyone who is participating in this group is going to be mentioned. And remember that this is a mentoring group. Like I said when I started out, mentoring being that what mentoring does is not only for the mentee, it's also for the mentor, learning it through that process. When we publish this type of report and it puts you as somebody who worked in this focus group to actually launch that report, and it goes out there in the industry, people are able to see it. It's a brand for you also. It helps you in your brand as somebody who is a leader in actually charging for the profession, in adapting to these disruptive technologies. And generally speaking, it helps everybody who are involved on this project. Unfortunately, the other guys are not able to make it, but I haven't really gotten any update as to why they're not here. But nevertheless, I really appreciate your making time for this, because I believe this is something that we're doing not for us. We're doing this for the entire profession, and for me, it's a very noble profession. Noble idea that we are coming together as a group of concerned professionals who would like to take a lead in this particular of issues and these emerging technologies in the industry. So I really want to close with that. Thank you, guys. Any information that I see, I am able to grab online, regarding some of these term of reference that I just read. I believe that Caleb also was able to listen to some of that, because you picked on one of them, but there are quite a number of them. I think it is about 10 or 8. I will try to write that up somewhere, maybe post it in the WhatsApp group. So I'll also post it here so everybody sees what our terms of reference will be. One of them that I just mentioned now being, we also want to publish a report, basically on these discussions after everything is said and done. Okay. Bye for now. Have a great weekend, guys.
Okay.
Regards to your family. Bye.
You too. Bye-bye. Take care.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.